look up from Show Center at an event like EAA AirVenture at Oshkosh, you see amazing pirouettes through the sky and may be thinking about how each pilot performs the figures on display. But do you think of what else it takes to put that performance in front of thousands of people, safely and efficiently? Communication plays a vital role in the execution of the aerial ballet. From the moment the airshow performance airplane leaves the hangar, to the briefing with the air boss who coordinates each act and sequence, to the preparation the pilot makes right before they climb into the airplane, to the storyline narrated by the pilot's team so that those watching understand each maneuver the pilot performs. Flying was invited to follow along with Mike Goulian at Oshkosh 2022 to see just how communication underlies each critical aspect of the performance that compels so many people to stop what they're doing and look up. Our day started early with a meetup at the Kermit Weeks EAA Young Eagles hangar north of runway 927, where Mike keeps his airplane stored during the show. Levi Fisher, Mike's crew chief, met us and gave us a preview of the first part of his day.
I'm Mike's crew chief. I take care of his airplane and all of his airplanes. So today my job will be to get the airplane over to Show Center, get it prepped, smoke oil and fuel, so he can perform a show. I also do, we have our narration and music pre-scripted and recorded on two separate computers, so we actually play that to the microphone as well. So it's all very choreographed. You know, we use Bose headsets for that reason. They're bulletproof. They travel with us everywhere, go in our check luggage, get feet around. I've had the same set for well over 5 years now. It's just
After that, we rode along as Levi made the big tow over to Show Center, where the heart of the action happens on the ground as well as in the air, in the form of pre-show pilot briefings led by Air Boss Wayne Boggs. We caught up with Wayne and talked with him about the coordination that takes place between the Air Boss crew and pilots, both before and during the air show, starting with the experience he brought to the role of Air Boss.
The kind of the variation on ATC that you're doing as an air boss is different. So what was in your background that led you to come into this position?
Well, actually, it's when I was a controller at Chicago O'Hare. Because I was a pilot, and you have the big Chicago Air and Sea Show downtown on the lake.
Sure.
Air traffic or Chicago O'Hare would send me down there with flight standards, and I would do all the coordination because the airspace for the air show impacted the airspace at O'Hare for the arrivals and departures. So I would actually, and this is back in the 80s, I would do all the coordination with the tower and approach control and this type of stuff, so that to make everything transparent down at the air show site. So that actually piqued my interest into. I knew what air shows were, of course. Growing up, my father was in the Air Force, so we got to go to air shows and that. But this actually put me sort of into it, and then it just sort of, let's do this. And it actually worked out very well. Yes, ma'am. I've been very blessed in this business.
Same here. So what was the first year that you were here, and did you go into a deputy position before taking on the overall leadership role with managing the airspace around Oshkosh?
Well, now, when I worked here in '92, I came as a controller because I managed at that time. I was in air traffic in Tampa, but I managed the Sun and Fun event at Lakeland, Florida. I was the FAA's manager for that. So that sent me up here that 1 year to be part of this group, not as a manager, but actually as a controller, so that I could see any differences that we were doing, take good ideas from here or expose them to some of the things. But we started an exchange program, to make a long story short, where an individual picked by their peers would be a guest at Sun and Fun, all expenses paid, and an individual at Sun and Fun picked by their peers would be a guest up here, all expenses paid. and they would work both places and share ideas and that type of thing. So that and managing Sun and Fun and stuff, and then by then I was actually getting into the Airboss arena and stuff, and I would actually come up here on annual leave, not representing the FAA, but work with the Warbirds of America and the airshow itself as a boss. You know, just being on the Warbird side, then moving over to both sides type of thing as just a boss, and then moving into the lead boss position. I mean, we have a number of bosses strictly because, I mean, Oshkosh is, you know, it's a convention to begin with. It has an air show. It isn't necessarily the largest air show in the country, but it is the longest because it's 7 days long. And there's no one person should even attempt, no matter how strong their personality is, should even attempt to try to do everything themselves. So what you want to do then is to reach out and find what you feel is the best of the best of the best and bring them in. And you know, the pay is not real what you would call exuberant, so they've got to sort of want to be here, and then bring them in, and then you just divide up the workload and say, hey, you're working today and this day and that day and this, and everybody takes a turn, and that way no one gets both mentally or physically exhausted unless you stay up to all hours of the night.
That whole, you know, group with the L's sort of
exactly.
Eagles, right?
So you got to be able to, you know, fly with them buzzards in the morning.
Right. So when you work with a specific performer, you know, somebody like Mike Goulian, who's obviously, you know, amongst the long-time elite,
Best
you
of the
know,
best of the
Art
best.
Show
Right.
winner,
Yes.
that kind of, you know, showmanship and professionalism. What kind of, do you go through any kind of special briefing with them, or you just do things in the general pilot briefing? What's
No,
your approach?
and that's really a good question, because you're in this business long enough and you've paid attention to what you're doing. You basically, now there are performers out there, new performers that I have not worked with, but you take the Goulians and the Tuckers and Wagstaff and all the other great performers out there. For 30 years I have been working with them and watching their routine and stuff like that. So it gets to a point that, you know, if they do anything that's odd whatsoever, what perks your attention up real quick on this. So those types of people, I know exactly what they're capable of doing. If I ask them for an immediate takeoff or make a short approach or this or that, or can you stop before you get to this intersection and this, I know exactly that they can do that. And if they thought they could not, they would tell me very quickly, unable, Wayne, I'm not going to do that. So
Right.
I don't have to, I watch them all the time, but I don't have to worry about them or be on edge that God, can I ask them to do that or this or that? I don't treat them any different than really anyone else, but I'm very comfortable with them because I know they're going to do exactly what we've briefed and do it to the best of their ability. You have your pilot briefings and stuff like that, where you mentioned briefings earlier. Every air boss has their own way of doing business. You know, they're like air traffic controllers. You're either good or you're bad. There's not a lot of middle ground in that area, in my perspective at least.
Sure.
So but you still, everybody has their own style, you know, and you develop a style of how you do things, because, you know, you could be a boss, but that doesn't mean you're going to do it necessarily like me. You do it good and right, but it may not be, there's more than one way to do things. It's what I'm driving at.
Sure.
So along those lines there, when I do a briefing, you know, it basically, I have a little saying that, you know, people are amazed the damn things fly anyway. So no one needs to push, okay? These people don't, you know, 90% of that audience out there has no clue what you're doing up there. If you're pulling 3Gs or 10Gs, they don't know that. So you don't have to push right on the edge of that envelope. And the other thing is, I start off, let's get that game face on, let's focus on what we do and what we do best. So it sets a tone of what I want out of them. So to answer your question, nope, take a year off, we just go right back into where we left off in 19. It's been a great week so far. I mean, not to bang on a little wood here and that type of thing,
Yeah.
but it's, everybody is cognizant of what they want and what they do. You don't get complacent by any means. You pay attention to, what is going on in front of you. The moment you turn your back in our profession here, that's when generally it's Murphy's Law, something's going to happen. Then the first question somebody asks you, well, didn't you see that? No, I was hobnobbing with the person behind me.
Right.
To be the best that you possibly can be, you're watched all the time. And I have this in some of my briefings also. In the old days, you could go to the side of your hangar if you couldn't make it to the head over here. But nowadays you're on YouTube within 20 minutes. People watch you all the time. And when you get into this environment, it's the Goulians, the Tuckers, the Wagners, you're going to influence people in your life. You may never know that you do, but they want to grow up and be you in that. So you want to strive as you're coming up to do the best that you possibly can do, but try to figure out what your own limitations are. Don't try to overdo it. Don't try to take it at a pace that you can absorb. Your attitude is a big thing. Your focus is a big thing. Your ability to absorb information and to absorb techniques is a big thing. And just take it in stride. And take criticism. Criticism's a big thing. Nobody likes to criticize other people because they don't know whether you're going to punch them in the face or not. But it's one of those things that you need the feedback, good or bad. You're surrounded by some of the greatest people on the planet. We have a saying. I did not coin the saying, but our heroes have become our friends, in type of thing. And you get to meet and associate with people that you would never have that opportunity if you had not been in this aviation air show business. And it becomes more than a friendship, it becomes a family.
About an hour before his scheduled performance, Mike does his own dance on the ground, stepping through each move that he'll make in the air. This process solidifies his anticipated sequence in the air with every move he plans to make with the airplane an extension of his body. It's showtime, and Wayne talks with the pilots as part of air traffic control, with the critical equipment by Bose necessary to ensure that not a word drops from the string of instructions and responses from each pilot. With the best of the best, he knows what many are capable of, but as PIC, any pilot can say unable and do what is required for the safety of the flight and the crowd. Levi's narration comes over loud and clear, helping the audience understand each maneuver as Mike flies his routine in the skies above Oshkosh.
Michael, the airspace is yours.
Okay, boss, going to the screen. Here we go.
Bye-bye.
It's Saturday at Oshkosh. It's a beautiful day. Today's the day. Let's put one on them. 30 seconds. Here we go.
10 seconds now.
Okay, 10 now.
Wheelan Aerospace Technology presents to you from Boston, Massachusetts, Michael Goulian.
traffic.
Okay, let's finish this one right.
Don't mess this up now. And that's where you started at Oshkosh.
Yep. Levi, that was great. Thank you. Going back to the boss seat in a minute.
Alright, I'll get you out.
Yep. Well, Spike over landing on the 3-6.
Michael, outstanding performance. Last quarter win with 2309 at runway 36, cleared to land.
Final land.
Fair amount of wind, about 2,000 above here, Michael.
It's actually not terrible. It's actually smooth. I was staying on the runway. It may be just a little bit from the south and off crowd at 2,000.
Okay, thanks.
I'll hurry it up for you guys.
Say again?
I will hurry it up for you guys.
No, you do not need to hurry.
Come on, baby.
JP, boss? It's JP, boss. Yes, sir. The airspace is yours. JP, here it comes.
Pros like Mike, Wayne, and Levi count on the clarity of their communications to ensure the show is executed safely and in a compelling way to all the crowds that come to see them dance in the sky.